Good morning and welcome, everyone. My name is Tamika Moss. I am the Experience Manager and a founding member here at the Foundation for Business Equity. We are so delighted that you all chose to spend your morning with us. And on behalf of the entire FBE team, we want to thank you. As I'm sure you guessed, we have been really busy here, focusing on supporting our Black and Latinx businesses across the Commonwealth. Back in May, with our coalition members, we raised and deployed $1 million through the Business Equity COVID-19 Relief Fund. This has allowed us to support 25 companies, 15 of whom were new companies to our ecosystem. We've adjusted our advisory model to respond to the global pandemic and its impact on our. We've deployed response teams focused on crisis management. We've supported entrepreneurs in pivoting their business models and focusing on really strategic priorities to ensure that we weather this storm together. We've onboarded new advisors with various specialties to support in the transition. And as an organization, we've expanded our support. And we are in the midst of formalizing our relationship with MCCI and BEF in capital deployment. Yet, while these are all recent happenings, we are still very proud of the fact that in the last 3 years, across our cohort companies, they have received over $6 million in growth and survival capital due to FBE efforts and partnerships. We've raised $2 million through the Business Equity Fund, $1.2 million in co-deals with Liquid Capital and other providers, $2 million through MCCI, and another $1 million through Relief Capital. And we're just getting started. Additionally, we've helped originate 2 important coalitions. The first, the Business Equity COVID-19 Emergency Fund, also known as BECIF, and the Equitable Coalition. It has been an incredible journey, and we are so grateful that so many of you have chosen to be on it with us. We want to thank, first and foremost, our amazing businesses and entrepreneurs. Thank you for trusting us. Thank you for taking a leap with the FBE and allowing us to support you. You are our why. You are why we stay in the fight. You are why we continue this work and know how critically important it is. We want to thank our strategic advisors for helping with all the work and really just supporting us, particularly this year in the pivot. You just stuck with us because you are just as committed to our businesses as we are. All of our ecosystem partners, we couldn't do it without you, and our sponsors. We are so grateful to know that it's community that allows us to do this work, and the community is going to allow us to continue to do great things together. So it is my privilege to introduce, fresh off the press, our newly created sizzle reel. We want to give special thanks to one of our businesses and the talented El Mundo team who did a fantastic job, and all of you who took the time out of your busy schedules to tape it. So we are now going to show you that sizzle reel.
The Foundation for Business Equity focuses on supporting and helping Black and Latino businesses thrive and grow. We make sure they have really good advice, we make sure they have access to capital, and we also make sure they have access to contracts and customers.
We took $2 million initially from Eastern Bank to seed the fund, and then the Boston Foundation and our donors put more resources into the fund to support the growth of Black and Latino businesses in the region.
FBE companies have been tremendous in helping us grow our supplier diversity. Over $1 million increase in the past 2 years alone.
The PPP Equitable Access Coalition Initiative is one example where the Foundation for Business Equity helped get over $4.2 million to small business owners.
About 15 of our members received capital from the Foundation for Business Equity, and if they had not received that capital, they'd be part of the 10% of black businesses who have closed their doors for good.
I don't know what we would have done had we not had the contracts in place that we did during this pandemic.
With the advising team, they did a great job of just helping me boost my confidence and still able to maintain focus during this pandemic.
We're really selective and thoughtful about who gets recruited into the FBE. We're just as mindful when we think about our advisors. They have to really be able to roll up their sleeves and engage with our entrepreneurs. And we find that formula becomes the secret sauce.
I was admired by the professionalism and the trustworthy of all of these outside consultants helping me with my business.
That's what the program did for us. It guided us in the right direction at a time when we really were looking for guidance.
I think FBE helped me solidify my role. As CEO, I became the leader of the company, and so they really helped me become who I am today.
One word to describe the help.
Unifying.
Transformational.
Growth.
Groundbreaking.
Monumental.
Revolutionary.
Unlimited. Unlimited.
It is now my rare pleasure, because I often sass him so much, to introduce our fearless leader. I've had the honor of partnering with him for 4 years now, before the FBE was the FBE. And I am continuously in awe of his stalwart advocacy, his tireless labor on behalf of our businesses and on behalf of this foundation. So I am more than honored to present to all of you my friend, our founder and executive director, Glenn Lloyd.
Thanks, Tamika. A special intro. Hello, all. Good morning. So glad you're joining us. A few quick rules of engagement. I actually would like to start us pretending for a moment that we're actually in a room together. I see many old friends and new partners in the virtual room now, and I miss seeing you all. I really do. I think we all do. So let's take a moment. We opened up the chat, and we're already using it, which I love, and pretend we're in the same room together. And so find a name on there, say hello to somebody you haven't seen in a while, or talk to somebody, and reach out. And let's do some old-fashioned networking for a few minutes. As you do that, I want to take a moment to thank my team, Tamika, Kateria, and Deanna. You all rock, and boy, do we get some stuff done together. Thank you. Also, while listening to the conversation, feel free to check out the websites of the business owners you're about to meet: Ardent, Darryl's Bar and Grill, Estrella Enterprises, and Labor OnSite. I'm going to bring my entrepreneurs to the screen, and I want us now to focus our attention on our fellow entrepreneurs. We have 4 incredible leaders who agreed to have a real conversation with us this morning. In a moment, I will introduce them. I'll let them introduce themselves. Before I do, allow me to remind you that you can type in and submit questions in the Q&A anytime during the discussion. That's on your right-hand side, lower side. And we'll be having some Q&A towards the end. We intend this to be a free-flowing conversation, getting as deep as we can in the time that we have, so we all can learn something new this morning. So let's get us started. So I'm gonna ask all you all who with me here, after I officially welcome Shanel, Wendy, Nia, and Amiel, in 60 seconds, can you tell us your role in your company? Tell us about your business and the impact COVID-19 when it hit. Shanel, why don't you start us off?
Hey everyone, thanks so much, Glenn. Very excited to be here. My name is Shanel Lindsay. My company is Ardent. We're a cannabis technology and consumer device and product company. Before I started Ardent, I was an attorney, but also have been using cannabis for 20 years and making products. So when I saw cannabis on the horizon in mass, both the inequities that still existed in the industry and the barriers for people to be able to use it in an effective and affordable way, I went and invented a machine, a decarboxylator, that allowed people to make any product that they wanted to affordably, and also fought for cannabis equity. And so that's what my company is all about. We're based in Rosendale. In the last 5 years, we've also developed a new product, it's kind of a easy bake oven for cannabis that, again, allows people to have that flexibility, whether it's CBD or THC, and have that knowledge and comfort. So COVID hit us right when we were launching our new product, which was really difficult. We needed to kind of double down on what had worked for us before, which was focusing on our direct-to-consumer, our e-commerce, and kind of moving away from some of the retail plans that we had. And so for us, it was trying to find a balance of security for our team and making sure that we didn't have to lay people off or but putting other plans on hold, maybe that we had for growth, but still trying to achieve what we were looking to do. And I'm really happy that with BEI's help, we were able to get there. And it was an interesting time for cannabis, absolutely.
Great. Amiel?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Amiel Vargas. I'm president and CEO of Labor OnSite. First, I would like to thank the Foundation for Business Equity for hosting this event and giving Labor OnSite the opportunity to participate in the current cohort. We at Labor OnSite are a family-owned minority business enterprise that supplies temporary workers, staffing, and recruiting services to private and public sector clients in the Northeast and Southeast part of the country. The industries we cater to are the construction trades, janitorial services, food services, and light industrial. Labor OnSite is headquartered in the immigrant city of Lawrence, Massachusetts, and we also have a satellite office in Miami, Florida. Our best year since our incorporation in terms of sales was 2019, and prior to COVID, we were on pace to have the best quarter ever in 2020, and of course, that changed overnight when COVID hit. Through the initial phases of COVID, March, April, and May, our business suffered a substantial decrease of about 65 to 70% in sales due to the uncertainty. Job sites were shut down across New England, and to date, the state of Vermont is still shut down. So we're still being adversely affected. A vast majority of our employees went on unemployment compensation and stayed home, like much of what was happening with the other companies. The unemployment incentives offered by the federal and state governments had a negative impact for our company. Not only was it a challenge to recoup our employees back into the fold, but we found ourselves competing with the government, in a sense, for workers. That made it attractive for workers to stay unemployed. While the COVID uncertainty was playing out, it was safer to stay home and get paid than to go out in the field and risk getting sick. So it was also a psychological aspect that we had to communicate to our workforce.
Thanks, Amiel. And just for clarity, you're really talking about the folks who were getting more for unemployment, staying in their homes than being out and working. That was one of your big challenges.
Correct. The challenges was that the state of Massachusetts was offering $800 in unemployment compensation, and then they were getting $600+ from the federal government. So here we have $1,400. So there's no way you can compete. So most workers would rather stay home and not risk getting sick than actually going out there to work, which was very risky.
Understood. Let's roll around. Go ahead, Nia.
Hi, Nia Grace. I am the owner and proprietor of Darryl's Corner Bar and Kitchen. Thank you very much for having me here today as well. I'm part of the BEI cohort, I believe number 5. I am a Boston resident, particularly from the neighborhood of Roxbury. Entertainment and entertaining have always been a part of my passion, as well as community development and relations. When I first, graduated from school, I got back here and I worked in nonprofit, and it was all about community development for me. But I had an opportunity to really kind of delve into my passions in restaurants. I got my start in the industry over 20 years ago, entry-level job as a cashier and cold line cook. And I was able to realize my dream 2 years ago of owning my own restaurant. When COVID-19 hit us, we had, been experiencing a great rise as well in our second year in terms of sales and catering and entertainment. And when COVID-19 hit us, we had to cease all on-site consumption. What that did for our business was a total loss of 90% of our revenue source. And for people who understand about going out to eat, about 63% of the people in the country actually go out for not just the food, but the experience. And so when COVID-19 hit us, it took away one of the key pieces, which was the experience here.
Thanks, Nia. Wendy, well, give us your 60-second.
Well, good morning. I am Wendy Estrella. I'm also part of this cohort for BI. I actually own and operate a law practice in Lawrence, one of the biggest real estate law firm in Lawrence. I'm also the co-owner and co-manager of a real estate development holding real estate company, along with my husband, Jose Estrella, and we own Estrella Enterprises. And Jose and I have been in the real estate business for about 25 years. And, holding primarily residential property. And Jose and I had actually joined BI with the thought and the illusion of growing this real estate company. And we were planning to do that for quite some time. And then COVID hits, right? And unlike a lot of the stories that I hear, for us, we felt like COVID was the opportunity for growth, which is completely different than what most people have been experiencing in the business. And I say this because we were able to grow our holdings from a little over, we had over 100 units. Now we're close to 300 units. And it all happened during the COVID period. This acquisition came about because the sellers became a little bit afraid of what was, potentially could happen after COVID. And we saw an opportunity to take this company to a whole new level. And here we are. So obviously, like everybody else, we've been, impacted somehow, right, with COVID, especially because we all know that there was a moratorium that prevented, or not prevented, but at least it gave some help to, tenants and paying the rent in terms of not facing any eviction. So we knew going forward that this was going to be a challenge. However, the experience in the business has helped us remain strong as we transition to this big acquisition. It has not been obviously an easy path, because going from owning 100 units to owning almost 300 units, it's quite a challenge. However, I feel like at this point we have we're way into our transition of putting these units together and running them well. And I feel like COVID, obviously, we have to remain, focused on what's going on and find ways to help our tenants, make sure that they remain in place. So you kind of have to work with your tenants as we go through this, era of COVID and difficult times. So thank you.
Thank you all. So look, we're going to get into the present and how we're dealing with this. I want to go back a little bit. And, we all have our unique and interesting origin stories as entrepreneurs. One in particular I want to call out, I think, Shanel, yours is a compelling one. And I know you mentioned a little bit in your intro. Could you just give us a little sense of how what motivated you to get started in your company and your first few months in operation?
Thanks, Glenn. So, as I mentioned, I started out as an attorney. And, started my career thinking that never having cannabis really as an option, thinking that it would be an industry at any point. It was always something that obviously was illegal. And when my son was born, I had my son when I was 19. And after he was born, I started using cannabis as a medicine. I got an ovarian cyst. And I started seeing it for its potential to, help with so many different things. And for me, this particular issue. And so I started making cannabis products, but having a real struggle with that on the technical side of being able to accomplish that. But then on the other side as well, as far as, the discriminatory practices of law enforcement when it comes to people of color and cannabis. And so for me, it definitely started as something that was more of an annoyance than anything, more the stigma around using cannabis rather than alcohol or something like that. But it really became a threat to everything that I had worked for when I was arrested in 2009 for having my medical marijuana on me in a car. And so I got pulled over, and instead of just getting a ticket, I was arrested and threatened with, losing my entire legal career for something that should have been, $100 fine. And so starting to dig in and see what actually was really happening, after this kind of decriminalization, that, not only, people like me that were professionals, but, our young people, right? Folks that already were on the edge of a system that was penalizing them for anything, right? And cannabis being used to, up enforcement and really, corner our community, right? And so after, that happened and that interaction, I really, took an interest in trying to change that and think about, okay, how can I use my law degree? I was able to talk myself out of this, situation and not lose my license, but how do I actually start to use this? And so that started, my fight, and I helped write the law in Massachusetts, and particularly the equity provisions that now have blossomed into a lot of great things on paper. Like, to be honest, we still have a long way to go in Massachusetts. Is a huge industry that's making millions of dollars, every month. At this point, it's going to be $1 billion industry, very soon in Massachusetts on the adult use side, and we still have less than 3% of those businesses.
It's amazing Shanel, because not only are you an entrepreneur, but you're an advocate too, right? And so just translate that back into even kind of pre-COVID into COVID. I just want a quick follow on, which is. You are a consumer home product essentially, right? And you also had an e-commerce platform coming into COVID. And my assumption, because of that platform, that's like two pluses. I hate to say it, coming into this pandemic, which actually ended up being a positive for you. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, and anybody who's kind of familiar with cannabis knows that cannabis was deemed essential pretty early on, in COVID. And so that was great for operators that were already up and running. Unfortunately, for a lot of equity businesses, it wasn't good. My business is not plant touching, and I definitely encourage people to look into the ancillary side of the cannabis business. But you're right, we have an e-commerce platform, and so we were able to actually accelerate sales during COVID by focusing more on the e-commerce side of the business. This challenge still existed about, supply. So we had one side of our business that actually makes consumable products like kits and other things for people to use with our device, and our commercial kitchen space was completely shut down. So we had to pivot from one side of the business that was growing and had a lot of interest and double down on our device sales and the other things that were working for us. And as a cannabis company, you don't have any access to PPP funds or anything that could help the business. And so it really became important to just say, okay, we need to be very lean. We're used to running very lean as a company because it's hard to get capital in the cannabis industry. So you just go with what you can, get done. And we were able to do that and come out ahead. Everybody had to take on extra roles at the company, but people were willing to do that because they knew, they were able to work from home, number one. And then number two, they knew how important it was for us to all buckle down and be able to get through. And so we were still able to meet our goals for the year, despite the fact that COVID hit. Just based on going back to the basics for us, which was the initial business that we had built up along the years, the direct to consumer.
Let me pull on that thread, Shanel. Thank you, and get into this topic around leadership. Not all the folks kind of tuning in may fully understand the weight and responsibility of stewarding a company, all of its employees, and all of its assets and liabilities. And then the storm hits, right? And now we're all in uncharted waters, and it's foggy. I mean, really being able to see what's in front of you. I want to take us back a little bit in time, and I'm gonna put Nee on the spot here. Really, I mean, you're in an industry that, you know, your whole model was around the experience in a lot of ways, right? And not only that, you know, it's music and it's food, but it's also alcohol sales. And so what are those first moments when literally you're told to shut down? I mean, what's going, how do you collect yourself? What's going in your mind? I want to go back to those moments.
I mean, first it's a wow. You know, I'm sitting at the bar when it happened, and I was really just shocked. And then, you know, trying to figure out immediately how are we going to make something work. I think when we think about our industries or think about how a lot of us as entrepreneurs have made it through the COVID-19 pandemic, it's been about creativity and really, you know, being able to bounce back immediately. And I think that in the restaurant industry, we've got a lot of that experience, you know, with dealing with guests and circumstances that are beyond our control. And so it was one of those situations, again, where we're just in a situation that's beyond our control. And it really required some, you know, quick and I think sound mind about how we're going to move forward. And everyone, I think, in our industry didn't have the ability to even have the space to breathe and say, you know, what are we going to do next? But we had to make that decision fairly quickly. And like you said, not only is our business about, you know, alcohol and food sales, but it's literally about people. You know, we're an industry that thrives off of the energy and the presence of our guests. You know, those are our friends, or the ones that are, you know, making our jobs easy to do because we enjoy hosting and taking care of our customers. And so we had to figure out what's going to be the best way to take care of our customers, because they're equally going through a pandemic with us. They're equally the same ones who can no longer come to our establishments. And so we just had to work fairly quickly and figure out what resources we already had in place for us to make that change and still be of service to the community.
And just me, I'm just going to just to get raw here. Like, is this like an OMG moment? Like, holy, you know, I mean, like, what?
Yeah. I mean,
they going, is this it?
Yeah. I mean, it's absolutely one of those moments. Like I said, you know, I'm sitting at the bar. If I tell you the truth, I probably took a shot, you know, just to try to get my mind straight. But that's a joke. But you know, for real, it's, you know, when we think about on a daily basis, I think I'm probably more concerned with, you know, does this customer get seated in time? Was their food hot? Are they happy with the flavor? And then let's do it again tomorrow. That day, I had to first say, wow, I mean, we employ almost 50 people. And those 50 people that we employ are affecting 50 households that, you know, multiplied by 3 to 4. That's a lot of people that, you know, our small business is affecting. So that was one of the first things. It was, what is our staff going to do? What are we supposed to do about our staff? You know?
People have helped build your company with you.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
No, that's it.
I was going to flow that question over to Amiel. I mean, you talked about 65-70% of your sales down. You also had same shutdown regulation. Like, how are you making decisions around that? Like, what's going through your mind as an entrepreneur who's building a company, a successful company, you know, turning the corner, things are looking really good, and all of a sudden, bam, you have to make these hard decisions.
We were, you know, certainly concerned about the uncertainty and unknown. You know, we've never had this challenge before, you know, something that you can't really control. You know, we can control other aspects, but, you know, this storm that just hit us overnight, you know, in March, in April, and May, it just created havoc. You know, so it definitely impacted our cost of goods sold. You know, everyone that we put out on the street, that's our cost of goods sold. So contract labor hours were definitely affected. You know,
looks like we're having a little technical with Amiel. Why don't we, Amiel? We're gonna go to
the toolbox.
Yeah, we're gonna go to Wendy. We're gonna get that technical issue. Sorry about that, folks. Actually, both Amiel and Wendy, I want to do a follow on because I know your business is a little bit, and I want to get into a little bit of what is a typical pain point that we find in small business, and that's around capital. And Wendy, I know I'm gonna move to more of a positive note to you because I think you didn't have to shut down per se, so your company kind of continued to flow. And not only that, you saw opportunity in the marketplace, and so. If I could, I'm going to pivot a little bit and ask you a question, Wendy, around, if you don't mind, you recently have actually expanded, which is exciting news in terms of an acquisition. But within that expansion, you also had an interesting conversation, an interesting experience around capital. Can you just, I want to ask some of the other panelists too, because everyone has a capital concern. But can you just share this with the rest of the panelists in the audience around some of your most recent experiences, good news around the growth potential, but also like what did you learn about as you moved into a kind of a different level, you also got an education around a capital concern.
Definitely. I mean, what's interesting is, and I just mentioned at the beginning, I am a real estate attorney, right? So I do this closing situation day in, day out. And being in the real estate world overall, and also as an investor, I knew that, trying to grow this company to the extent that we did in the past few weeks was going to be a challenge, right? Especially because we did get into this large acquisition it was a $26 million acquisition. So it was quite large, nothing compared to what we've ever done in the past. However, I didn't think I knew there was going to be a lot of challenges, but not to the extent that I experienced. I'd share some of the, things that I went through in those 4 months that we went through that acquisition where I was losing sleep. There were times that I wasn't sleeping because of the amount of stress, but it was mostly because of the lack of experience, going from, into that large acquisition, right? So I learned quite a bit, especially on how to get money really fast, right? So we were blessed to be able to be in a position to come up with the funds that were required, because I have to admit that COVID in that aspect really played a big factor in this acquisition. The bank, as any other banks, are concerned about COVID, right? They're concerned about borrowers' ability to pay back. Especially when you're talking about, $26 million acquisition, so the loan is pretty large. So they're going to make sure that you pay. And so one of the challenges that we found ourselves into is that the bank required that we kept a substantial amount of money in escrow for at least 9 months. And that, that was like about, one loan was about 12 months worth of principal and interest that needed to be held in escrow for about 9 months. So that was in addition to the deposit that we needed to come up with. So these are some of the challenges that we went through as we got into this acquisition. And the stress level, obviously, as I mentioned before, was quite big. And it was mostly because of the fact that we, and sometimes, I'm happy, Glenn, to report that, we had the support of so many people too, right? So being part of BEI, obviously, I was able to call on people. But even being able to do that, we still did not have that kind of knowledge that we should have perhaps have or experienced that made it that much more difficult.
I would say also, knowledge and options, right? I mean, you felt you kind of were put in a corner. All of a sudden, you only had, 1 or 2 options. Can I just take that thread? And I don't know if we have Amiel back. Amiel, when you came into the program, one of your biggest issues you realized was you were losing a bunch of money with a capital provider. Can you just give us the quick high level of that? Hopefully we get your audio back. Amiel?
Yeah, thank you, Glenn. Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, for the first time ever, our company is very financially strong. And we've always relied on a factoring company. And, for the first time, like I said, we're looking at other options. There's other financial institutions out there that are currently assisting us. And hopefully in 2021, we will be able to, for the first time, self-fund our payroll. So that's very significant because we've never done that before. So that's part of our strategic growth plan, and it's in motion currently. We're talking to a few financial institutions in Massachusetts as we speak, and like I said, we're very happy that we're moving in the right direction, and because of this, we'll be able to move to the next level.
Just so the less experienced minds out there, the factoring company essentially it's a very expensive cost of capital that you've had to kind of grow out of and move into a more traditional way to kind of cover your cash flow. We're gonna now move into the section called what I'm calling the essential tools. So I want you to just think back the last 12 months in terms of things that prove most helpful to you for you to be a better leader, or your company be a better company. And I actually, I'll give you a sample. I'll never forget, I forget when it was exactly, but it was, 4 or 5 years into my company. And I sat down at the computer one day and I realized all my stuff was based on the technology in my computer, my inventory, everything. I was like, well, my goodness, if anything goes wrong there, I'm in trouble, right? It was one of those aha moments. And then I really doubled down and invested in that part of the company. I'm just curious if we go around quickly, like, anything like that happened to you, even pre-COVID, where you said, wait a second, this is something very important for me as a leader or my company to improve upon. I'm going to open it up. Anyone just jump in.
Systems and technology were, very important for us. Systems, yeah. So, how you have your operation systems, whatever that process and procedure is, making sure that, people are on point in terms of job roles and execution. But the technology became something that we had to rely on heavily as we had to reduce staff. So we had to look at the technology that we kind of had walking along with us to actually in some ways replace some of the things that we needed to be able to do so that we could function better. And that can be simple as just bringing in Uber Eats and Grubhub so that we can get our food now to our customer base.
Go ahead, pile on, folks.
Okay,
for labor on site,
yeah.
I would say that technology, we're pivoting in that direction. We've been lacking in that area for a number of years. So technology will definitely bring us to the next level. We're looking at text messaging, our employees, constant contact with our clients, a faster way to communicate. Because as you know, if you're not getting better, you're getting beaten by your competitors. So technology for sure, we're looking into, what's new out there, and we're hoping to get to the next level in 2021.
And if I could just jump in, Glenn, for us was, getting all our finances extremely organized. And we needed to make sure that all the pennies are accounted for, especially going into this large, acquisition. So for us and for us as a company, we were, blessed to have a strategic advisor who was really, really savvy on finances. So for us, that was a big part of the growth and be able to do what we did, right? So if we were not ready,
just for folks who may not know what a strategic advisor is, can you just tell what that is?
Well, the strategic advisor is, the person that we get assigned through BEI as we part of this the cohort now. So, through our strategic advisor, I thought that was a life-saving. I felt like his knowledge, he was just fantastic, and be able to get the company where it needed to be in order to be presented the way it should have for the purposes of the bank, so that the bank can trust in what we do with the experience and also the finances of the company itself.
I mean, you're going to hear your answer, Shanel, to that question yourself.
It's funny because I had written down systems circled. So Nia was saying the exact same thing, but it's along the lines of what Wendy was saying. Like for us, the financial part, having those financials really tight. Prior to BEI, we were doing financials kind of at the end of the month, and sometimes it would slip by, and then we're kind of like 2 months in, and I'm looking at what cost of goods are for certain things and really not able to have a handle on really the planning. And I think in the cannabis industry, there are so many different opportunities. So you're always kind of running and trying to see kind of what you can grab onto, and it leads your team to be in a frenzy a lot. And I felt like that we were always kind of in a frenzy, chasing the revenue rather than kind of being able to look and say, hey, what partnerships are working for us? What things are working for us well? Where do we need to, put a little bit more effort in here to just get a huge amount of return? So for us, it was moving from a financial system that was manual to something that was incredibly automated, so that we're having visibility at any given time, to what's happening there. And then just from a mental health perspective for our team, being able to say, like, these are our goals. This is, we've measured success and we've achieved this. And so now we can, have that balance between, always chasing, the next dollar, and then also being able to, like, do that strategic planning that we needed to do. So I think systems in place for sure.
I love the answer systems. Love it, love it, love it. But here, I just got to do a high level question to all four of you. Someone can jump in. What about talent? Just any like observations, like, wait a second, the team around you over the last 12 months. Anybody?
I would say in terms of talent, definitely, our BEI advisor coming in right at the perfect time, to weather this storm.
But I want to redirect a little bit. What about, I'm talking about your existing team. I know you work with your brother, so you got to be careful. So,
Well, the existing team, just the level of cooperation and collaboration, with my brother and the CFO and the other guys over there, it's not just me. I'm just the president and CEO, but there's a lot of people, working for Labor on Site, and a lot of people in the city of Lawrence that depend on us, that go out and work day to day. So definitely the collaboration and cooperation, especially during, COVID and ongoing, as we try to implement that strategic growth plan is very important. And we're hoping to bring in new talent. So we're definitely working on new talent right now.
Anyone else right quick? I'm going to go to a speed round. Good? Okay. Neve, do you want to jump in right quick, or you good?
Well, real quick, I just want to say that what were revealed to me during this moment is the talent that we currently had, about how many other things that they knew and could contribute to the business. And so it actually revealed a lot more about skill sets and how they would pitch in. And when I talk about my team showing up during COVID, that's exactly what we did. When we had to dwindle down our staff and make things work, they came and rallied. So good talent is great, and cultivating is even better. So
great. So listen, this is a speed round. I just want a number from you. So as your company's matured, you get a sense of the importance of formalizing core aspects of your operation. I call it the sexy stuff, right? So process, procedures. You all came to that already or in the earlier, but and that could include digital. So how would you rate your current company from a 1 to 10, 10 being perfect? Wendy.
Wow, that's I was hoping you'd call me last on that one, Glenn. I'll be honest, my level of optimism and the process of this acquisition, and the fact that I'm super excited about it, I would say 10. I think we're in the highest.
Wendy, I love an answer. Not really.
So we are in the peak of what this company should have meant and what should have been all along. So I'm excited to say that that's how I feel, even though we're still going through this process, but with the systems in place and both the finances and gathering the right staff to make this happen, this could not be more exciting. And so I'm going to give it a 10.
That's an entrepreneurial answer, 100%. Yeah, what's your
number? To be fair, I think that we're doing about we're about 8 out of 10 right now. I think that there's plenty of room for improvement, especially as we're exploring other areas of service. We're experimenting with new lines of revenue, and so there's opportunity for our growth there.
Shanel?
As far as systems are concerned, I'd say we're at probably a 7.5 now, but ask me in a month and we'll be at 8.5.
Yeah, I think Wendy's first answer weighted everyone up a little bit, but go ahead.
Well, prior to the Foundation for Business Equity, we were a 7, but after we got our BEI advisor on board, I would say we're a 9. There's definitely room for improvement, but now we have structure and we have clarity of where we want to go. So we've definitely made an improvement.
So this is just a comment. So I'm just going to push the entrepreneurs, not only you all, but listening in, is what do you need to do to take steps to turn that number? Wendy, you think in your mind you can't go any higher, but to take that number up a notch. And this is the important pieces of learning as a business owner is you got to invest on your infrastructure. It's not the fun stuff per se, but it's the critical. Let's now pivot into the future. and again, it's an open-ended, and folks can jump in. It's time to think about the brightness potentially, the other side of this thing. So how do you currently feel about the future? It may not be, stunning glory for everybody. So what's your long view of your company and how you get there? Anyone can jump in first. Nia, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay. I'm excited about the future. Prior to COVID, we were looking at additional venues. We want to expand. May not be the same concept that we have right now, but along the same foundation. And so I think that any restaurant, particularly that's going to make it through COVID, you definitely deserve another venue. And so I'm definitely going to be working towards that in the next 2 to 3 years during our recovery.
A second DCBK, or is it a different name?
Listen, something like it. It won't be DCBK. Sorry, Darryl. But it'll be great.
We absolutely look forward to it. When I saw that in the notes, I was so thrilled because I know, it's been a struggle, right? So to be thinking about the future like that, I love that. Who's up?
So
Go ahead, Shanel.
So I was going to say, in the cannabis industry, the sky's the limit. So we're going to be reaching for that sky over the next couple of years. Like Wendy mentioned, COVID gave us an opportunity as well when it came to taking over and getting some more space for our expansion. And so we were able to pivot from a shared kitchen space that we have right now, which is amazing, partnership that we had with Commonwealth Kitchen, and take the step that we were always planning to a little bit earlier, which is bringing that in-house. And so we took over a storefront below our offices in Rosendale, and so we're building that out to a full production facility for us. And so we're really excited about that, and really, looking forward to what that means for us, at lower cost of goods, and being able to have really a house of innovation, right below us to take those next steps.
Shanel, I really want to make sure I get this point in. So you were, who was producing for you, or was it packaging? Was it part of the manufacturing in-house or the distribution?
Yeah, so it's all of that. So right now, we were really stifled last year, and obviously with COVID, with being able to make kind of like our customized or small run kits, because with COVID, it was a lot more difficult to get into our kitchen. And then obviously there are just things that we can't do in a shared kitchen space that we would want to do, really product lines that are high margin for us that we just need our own private space for, even on the supplement side of things. And so we were able to, we have a really friendly landlord that's one of our investors. And so we're able to take over this space that really has become a home to us over the last couple of years as we've grown the business. Take some of that margin back from some of our shippers and our 3PL, and be able to do a lot of that in-house, in addition to be able to receive an import product rather than having to store it different places, which obviously will be great for our bottom line down the road.
And I want to highlight something you said, if I could, and that is a really friendly landlord, right? So critical in this time. We have to partner with our landlord if we're going to be successful. So thanks for mentioning that. I think, Wendy, we didn't hear from you yet on this one.
Well, I was just going to say, I'm very optimistic about the future. And I feel like if we were able to bring this company to the level that we have during a pandemic, I think anything is possible. I think the real estate business has really boomed in the state of Massachusetts, and I think it will continue to do so. Despite obviously it's a business that could have a negative impact in your mind, right? When you hear about this potential, the market is going to crash. When is the market crashing? I get this every day. Both of the real estate attorney, because they're always like, well, when is the next opportunity for me to buy my new house? When the market is crashing. So you get it from all angles, right? That you think something's going to happen, but if you remain focused on what the business should look like, if you invest in a business, and you got to think about cash flow, and if it's cash flowing, and you think you can only go up from there, right? So to me, I'm optimistic about the future, and I think if we were able to do it now, I think the sky's the limit, as Shanel said.
I love you are the eternal optimist, and you are pure entrepreneurial. I want to highlight a couple things about your business, which I really want folks to know. You and your husband, I think, have a very unique approach to development and being a landlord, because you're embedded in the community, and you have, you understand your tenants in a unique way, and I've been very impressed. I got to ask you this question though, if a lot of your tenants are working class and right, and we're coming through a potentially new wave of issues. A lot of your government subsidies are going away. I'm just from is there a concern there on your part that may impact you? Just curious.
Yes, I mean, there's always a possibility, Glenn, and obviously we've been experiencing, there's that percentage of people who have a difficult time paying, but I think, we know our community well, which is what we have been, being able to own everything in our backyard, as I call it, it has been extremely important for us because we just know our community. We're able to work with them, whether it's getting into a payment plan for the rent. And so that makes us feel a lot more comfortable, and we can have that interaction with our tenants about, their needs, and just kind of becoming that friendly, landlord, as Shanel said, that it's important and you got to keep yourself, kind of educating the community. And we've always been big on that, trying to educate the community. Where do you get the resources? Where do you get the help that you might need? There are resources out there. You just have to make sure that you know where they're at so that you can direct your tenants to get the resources that they need so that they can remain in their homes.
Beautiful. This is one of my last questions, and then we're going to blend in some great questions that are coming in from the audience or folks who are in the room, not the audience, but the folks who are here with us today. This is for you for assuming there are all kinds of resources looking at us right now who are in the virtual room. What would you ask them in helping your company get to your vision? Anyone can jump in, or I'll call on somebody. How about you, Shanel? Amiel, go ahead, Amiel.
I would say that, obviously being able to finance your payroll, so financing, capital. We're definitely still looking around, we're looking for options. So if there's any banks out there that would like to, offer their services, we'd be happy to talk. So that's one of our most important factors, it's capital.
How much? All right.
Well, north of 1.5 million.
Okay, just wanted to thank you. Go ahead, Shanel. I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries. And so we're doing a raise right now as well for the build out. With Ardent, we never count on investor money just because I mentioned cannabis, even though we don't touch the plant. Being cannabis adjacent just means that you just never know what's going to happen, whether it's your bank account shut down or whatever. So we're all set for our build out, but obviously we can grow faster if we bring on some growth capital. And so we're raising right now. But even more than that, we're looking for local partners too, local vendors, Black and Latino businesses that make food products, shelf-stable food products specifically to go in our edibles kits. And then also I just wanted to make a quick plug for the need for advocacy around cannabis business in Massachusetts. So I hope that there are resources or people out there in here with us listening and caring about the fact that there is an industry that is here in Massachusetts that is built on the backs of Black and brown people. And it's a huge economic opportunity for generational wealth. And right now we're fighting for some licenses that would be exclusive for only equity folks, so only people that have been impacted. And there's a way to make a transition from people that are on the legacy market that are going to be left behind if we don't make a way for folks. So I would hope that people would be vocal about the need for that. And to be honest with you, business owners have some of the strongest footing to say, hey, Boston is inequitable. We need to actually make this difference. So I hope that those resources are out there too. And when I mean now, like there's a meeting on November 13th to make big decisions around whether, delivery licenses are going to be exclusive to equity folks. So that's my hope.
Yeah, did we get you yet?
Yeah, no, I would say, being really intentional about the businesses that you work with. So, more to Shanel's point, knowing that there are other businesses out there that are looking for, be it contracts or support. We are a restaurant, but we also do catering. We can do smaller, COVID-friendly events, really thinking outside of, what your typical vendor roll call will be. So we're looking for things like that, as well as capital as we move forward. When we came to the Business Equity Initiative to get mentorship, it was specifically so that we can pose our company to be investable beyond this one unit here, but as the larger hospitality brand. And so I think that what I'm looking for particularly are people who want to see a more diverse and inclusive landscape for restaurants and bars here in the city of Boston and beyond. And willing to have that conversation with anyone.
And I can't say this, and I think you are a leader among Black restaurateurs in our city. So I want to personally thank you for that on this line. You're not only a great entrepreneur, but you're an advocate, not only helping yourself but helping our brethren. So I know you've been very active there. Yeah.
Thank you, Glenn.
Wendy.
Well, for us, obviously, Glenn, it's a little different in terms of financing. However, we are always open to talk to different, lenders. Obviously, going through this experience was huge. And to me right now, I am so open to kind of sharing that experience that I just went through for the purposes of financing, that I think it's just, we lack so much education on that end when it comes to the real estate investment world. When you want to take that company to the next level, how do you get there? And I think education for us is a big thing. And learning more about how did this, what did this bank have to offer, the different banks? Obviously, we just have to keep knocking on the doors to see who would have that trust in you, right? To lend you, X amount of money in order for you to, grow and invest in you. Because this is just, obviously investing in us and as a community, and to have more, to trust in what we do, because it's also about trust, especially when it comes to, investing in with the Black and Brown communities. It's a matter of trust, right? So I just encourage, banks to be open to hear what we've done in the past and how we have proven ourselves in running our companies, and give people that opportunity by lending. So to me, I'm hoping to be able to just share as well some of the stuff that I've learned in the process of, financing.
Beautiful. I'm going to bring a couple of questions in from the audience, and I know we're getting tight on time here, but this is a little more retrospective. And again, this is back to your leadership. This is a question: have you made any changes to your leadership style because of the lessons that you've learned over the past 8 months that will stick with you when this crisis is over? Digest that. Go ahead. Who is that? Sorry.
Glenn, it's interesting because, I when I mentioned at the beginning, I also run a law practice, right? So I have a practice, and I do this business with Jose. So to me, I needed to really focus on my definite aim. I had to really think about where am I going, right? And kind of keep that focus in order to succeed. Growth comes with great responsibility, and I think you have to stop and think about those things. Think about the process. Think about the organizational part of what we do every day. And as Shanel said, sometimes you just run around, like a chicken without a head, right? Because there's so much to do, and you're acquiring this, and you're doing all this. So I think for me, I had to stop and think, right? Stop and think about how can I create processes that could be in place when I need them, so I can run both my practice and in the most smooth way possible, and also be able to be present and work with Jose and bring in the real estate company towards that. So to me, has been a lot of soul digging. As a friend of mine said to me, you got to do a little bit of soul digging and see where you're at. And I think focusing and maintaining that focus on that aim that you're looking for, I think it's crucial around this time of COVID, and so that you can be successful, right? Success comes with a lot of not just planning, but also execution. And to execute, you have to have a plan that really works.
Anybody else?
Glenn, for labor on site, like I said earlier, we were lacking structure and clarity. So we definitely focused on improving our communications within the office. We went to having weekly meetings on Zoom. And our BI advisor has been with us, day in and day out. So definitely, the clarity and the structure helped us put some measurables. If you can't measure something, then how are you going to reach that goal? So that was very important for labor on site, and we're headed in the right direction because of it.
Oh my goodness, I almost want to stop right there, Amiel. If you can't measure it, you're not going to improve it. Any final words from Shanel and Nia as we close out this section? On your, we got everything out we wanted to. If we could just please all put our hands together and thank the four business owners here who opened up, and their brilliance and sincerity. I just want to give you guys a virtual hand. Thank you so much. We'll let you guys kind of exit the stage, and this really concludes this morning's conversation, but not the conversation. That will obviously continue. And I'm gonna I'll let you guys exit. We're gonna close out the panel. And it is now my pleasure to recognize the Foundation Business Equity graduating companies for cohort 3 and 4, and we're gonna start with a short clip. Faces there. I know you did. The Foundation for Business Equity officially recognized Airmart Heating and Cooling, Archipelago Strategies, Bluebird Graphic Solutions, Colette Phillips Communications, Commercial Air Control, El Mundo, Main Street Global, Resource Management Inc., Tres Islas, Ardent, City Fresh Foods, DPV Transportation, Eduporium, Juice Cafe, Rare Moving and Trucking, and Vincente's for their commitment to their own success and hanging in there with the FBE family, many who are on this with us right now virtually, to reach their full potential. A little side note for the number crunchers: the aggregate of these companies in revenue is just south of 300 million, in full-time equivalents 800. So I'm privileged today to conclude with some comments. Let you guys get back to your days. There are multiple influences that push a business towards success, and some of them internal, like the quality mindset of the leadership. Some external, like access to capital or good advice at the right time. And as you can see, the Foundation for Business Equity is laser focused on those two. And when you put those together, businesses grow. And in this situation, they survive because we've been through a little bit of a crisis here. A lot has to line up for a business to maximize success. But one thing is for sure, we don't have to make it more challenging. It already is. So to hinder the full potential of Black and Latino entrepreneurs hurts us all. Our success is everyone's. So I'd like to ask everyone this morning, as we kind of get to close here, to take a moment and think about your role. It can be as easy as ordering some catfish from Darryl's Bar and Grill this weekend, or as challenging as supporting us in strengthening the existing ecosystem to meet the current gap of 300 million in growth capital our entrepreneurs need and deserve. Or, as Shanel mentioned, is it a chance to do some joint partnerships and look at some unique creative collaborations. Either way, there are avenues to do more, and we look forward to continue to be creative problem solvers together. So again, thanks again to my team, Katia, Deanna, Tamika, our entrepreneurs, our ecosystem partners, my board, somewhere here today, and all those who are working hard on the solution. And thank you all for your time together this morning. This officially concludes the good, the bad, the ugly 2020. Wishing you a calm and collected rest of the day.